I'm Wish, and I work at a company called Quinergy. I run the company. It's a small business. And this is my first run at this SBIR FAST program workshop presentation. I have applied and obtained many SBIRs in the past. That's my experience. And let's start this. And stop me whenever, ask questions, don't wait to the end. It's all good, okay? I like it that way usually. 4 parts to this. The 4th part will be Dana's part, other available resources. The first part is just a general overview of the STTR SBIR program. Part 2, what the proposal process is and how the NMFAST program can help in that process. So that's part 1. So what's the SBIR program? It's essentially a program set up by the government to support scientific excellence and technological innovation. Of course, it has to fit where it has to help the economy, it has to provide jobs, all kinds of good stuff. So that's why the government is willing to fund. Mainly the goals of the programs were to meet federal R&D needs, increase the commercialization of technologies and innovations, and hence create business and industry, and stimulate innovation, and hence partnership and more. This is more for they have set-asides for veteran-owned, minority-owned, those kinds of programs. So therefore, you get into a different category if you have those kinds of socially and economically disadvantaged situations. I would highly recommend making use of that. But if you have it, otherwise, it's still a great program for all the rest of us. Why would you go after something like this? Why not just go get money from an investor? Go start your program. Who's done it? Others, I'm sure, have done it. Just go in there, say, hey, I need this much money. You can go do this, create the innovation, and make it happen. Develop the technology, sell the product, make money, right? And well, that's fine, but as people who've done it will tell you, getting investment funds is not that easy. Investor interest is not that easy. And this is essentially the government's venture capital program. What it gives you is risk-free dollars. When we say risk-free, you're not giving up equity for the money, so it's good. And it's a fair amount of money. The company retains full data rights for any commercial use. The government retains some data rights for government use, and even that, they won't disclose the data for at least 4 years after full program completion. When I say full program, SBIR can go for many years. So you have phase 1, you have phase 2, you have phase 2 enhancement, you can even get into phase 3. And so that until all that ends, you have still 4 more years before the government will disclose the data. Even then, you have rights to it, and you have the right because it's yours. And very important, this bullet is that you have the priority position for sole source sales to the government. So if you develop a technology, you develop a product, you are the person who's going to supply the government for it. So therefore, you are set for revenue, right? You can get in there and you can get your revenue. It may not be huge commercial revenue, but it's still pretty good revenue because the margins are very good for the government for products.
So if somebody else develops something similar, the government would still be more likely to use because it tells you first.
You have typically most of the government stuff is custom, right? They're not exactly, the commercial stuff doesn't fit what they want because they want mil specs, they want other things. General commercial products don't care whether whether it can be shot at, for example, whether it can withstand a bullet. Military, it matters. Okay, so there are many things you develop that are mil spec and specifically customized for them. So they have a better probability that they will buy it from you, even if yours costs a lot more. So that works in your favor, even if other products are there. Of course, if the competitive product is much better than yours, there may be a value. Yeah, you can choose. But you still become a sole source sales to the government. But the good part is, as you're developing your SBIR, the idea here is that you're working closely with the customer, meaning the end user. So you are developing something that is very clearly going to be usable by that person or the agency. So you have custom fitted to their particular requirement, so you already have an edge. So if you set it up that way, which is how we do it, if you set it up that way, life is good. Don't go with the if I build it, they will come attitude. That's bad attitude in business anyway. So that's what this allows. And so it's nice because since you have an end customer, Unlike if you go to an investor, they say, oh, this is a good idea, go do it, and you're doing it in a vacuum many times. In this case, you have a specific customer who wants very specific needs. And so they can say, oh, yeah, I can give on this, but focus on this, So you may think that you want to develop something that's good for everything, but it may not be possible within the dollar you have or whatever. So you can focus on something that works. Yeah.
You're referring to the end customer as the government.
I'm referring to the end customer as the user.
Okay.
The government, so there's, okay. So the government, I know we're only the third slide, that's okay. The government has several layers, okay? Think of it this way. You walk in there and say, hey, I got something. Or you go in there and say, I have solutions to problems, okay? Let us say special operations sitting down in near Tampa says, SOCOM says, yeah, I like what you got, I like what you have, I like this idea. It's cool, but if you develop it this way, it'll be more useful to us, okay? So you say, all right, great, oh, that's the end user. So if you have something like this, I will buy it, okay? That's the end user. You say, oh, that's great, but I need some money to develop it, This looks great, my idea is cool, it's a little more than maybe PowerPoint. Maybe it is PowerPoint, at this point, but I got to develop it, right? And so you could talk to them, they say, oh, okay, I know the guy who has money, okay, because we have these different pots of money. And so one of those pots of money is this, the SBIR STTR program, okay? So he'll walk you to the program manager that says, okay, this is what you want. So then that program manager, essentially, his job is to advance technologies that are going to help the warfighter or whoever, okay, depending on whichever agency it is, right? And so he already knows there's an end customer. That end customer is the one that is giving the specifications for what this technology needs to do. That's what I mean by the end customer. See, there's a funding and an end customer. They're not really the same guy.
Right. I guess my question is, when you're taking that stance to writing the application, how does SBIR and STTR know that you're building it for the end customer?
They have already interviewed the end customer to put the topic in place.
I gotcha.
Okay, so that's how it goes usually.
Well, that's for DoD. More
Yes.
So like Justin is interested in NSF, who I would say isn't so.
That is no specific.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're more focused on.
They'll never be your customer.
No, no.
So it kind of differs. That's why it's confusing.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Right, and I mean, NSF is trying to develop cool technologies, right? They're looking for the future that way. They're a little more sciencey. That's why their SBIRs are grants, typically. So you can see the difference as to who's got a customer on hand versus who doesn't. And the ones that say grants usually don't, okay? Right. The one that says contracts do, okay? There's an end need for it. So that sort of gives you a clue as to what they're going with, okay? The grant will also give you more freedom, right? They're just looking to improve the technology, solve a problem in 10 years or whatever. A contract is much more clear and specific. They want you to, this thing has to shoot 20 miles away or something, or, has to provide power in this level or whatever, all these kinds of things. Come on in. Oh, sorry, please, thanks. So that's the difference, okay? Which comes to data rights, right? Essentially, I've already told you, you own all of the rights for this thing, okay? And the government has use of the data, obviously, because they are funding you to do this for a need. And so therefore, they want you to do this for them. They would rather you do it for them. But there's a very small percentage of cases where if you're not capable of doing it, okay? Let's say you did a great R&D, right? But you can't manufacture for some reason. You're just not good at it, or you can't do it, or you don't want to do it, okay? But the government needs it. They have the right to take it and give it to somebody who can manufacture it. Huh? I don't know if you do, actually. For government use, I don't think you do. Because they own the, they've funded you to do this. You still own the commercial rights. But that happens on a very, very small percentage of cases. 1%. So, hello. So, if you want to know more about the patent laws and everything, you can go to the USPTO websites and check it out. They have webinars. So this is a general fluff slide for what the background of the SBIR is. Started way back in the day. I was alive when I was a young man, by Ronald Reagan in '82. The SBIR programs have awarded $43 billion over the years, and quite a few engineers and scientists have been involved in the research in SBIR programs, and they have been the key catalyst for a variety of a number of small businesses. Overview, this is always nice, tells you how much money is available. There's a lot of money available, $2.5 billion annually, approximately. And the way it works, correct me if I'm wrong, Dana, the way it works is any agency that has a budget of greater than 100 million per year has to set aside about a little over 3%, 3.2% in FY17 as SBIR dollars, okay? And 1,000 awards have been granted over the years, and you can go and learn a lot about all these things at SBIR.gov. I would highly recommend you check that out if you haven't already. So that's SBIR. STTR is slightly different. It's a sister program. This one is where you have to work with a research institution, okay? And that's the only difference. And it's a smaller number of dollars. In this case, the agency budget has to be over $1 billion a year, and a small percent, 0.45% of that has to be in this budget. And so that comes to about $250 million a year, approximately. The good part about this program, even though it's small, don't poo-poo it. The good part about this program is fewer people go for this. So if you have a research institution that like to work with, you have to give some money away to them. But hey, it's okay. Get the work done, make it move, and STTR is an easier way to go. In fact, phase 1 is okay. Phase 2 is even better. Very, very few phase 2 STTRs go through. So, and if you get to phase 2 for an STTR, it's great. It's good. Yeah.
They almost have to fund everything that comes in.
Yeah, which is nice. There is lots of crackpot funded because, and yeah, there is, I've been told that from the DoD perspective too, because STTRs, where the funding will be tighter, I think, will be NSF, okay, those kinds of guys, because if you think about it, like you said, they're not contracts, they're grants, right? These are like researchers who want to do this anyway. Okay? They're developing a technology and they work with a company or whatever and get access to that grant, to that money, okay? DoD, not as much, if you think about it, right? But the type of stuff they're developing or they want to fund should be much close to product, okay? So a lot of research institutions, what they're working on is not that close to product. So really, they're not that interested and they won't be able to hit a spec. Even if they get in, they won't be able to pass after the phase 1 STTR, if you think about it. Because at the phase 2, you have to have prototypes, you have to have, working, performing products, okay? Which within a year, they won't be ready for in many of these cases. So many phase 2 STTR, phase 1s don't go to phase 2 in STTRs. So that's why there's a lot of money there. Even though the total amount is much less, 10 times less, but it is definitely worth going after. So I've already told you sort of, so what are the differences between SBIR and STTR programs? SBIR, predominantly the research is done by the small business, right? You have to have at least 2/3 of your research or your money has to go to the small business, okay? You can go all the way to 100%, and the remaining money can be done by anyone, really, with consultants, research institutions, small business, large business, whatever. Most importantly, you don't need any intellectual property agreement with any of these guys. You can choose to have it, but the proposal doesn't require it, okay? The difference with the STTR is there's a minimum is not 2/3 now, only 40% of the work needs to be done by the small business. But more importantly, a minimum of 30% of the work has to be done by research institutions. Of course, we're biased, so we say NMSU right away. So done by NMSU would be nice. But 30%, right? But here, you do need an IP agreement between the business and the research institution, so you don't have any problems later on. So you know where the transfer is, who owns what, how they're going to transfer the IP to you, all that is your business with the research institute. The government doesn't want to get involved in that. Okay, so that's what that is. And up to 30% can be done by others. And that 30% could be you, or 30% could be the research institution. It doesn't matter. It's just a minimum, right? So that's the difference between these two. And hey, that won't work. That was not working only about this morning. So can write. So this is pod has been split up, like 2.5 billion pod. So a lot of it is health and human services. This is my first time doing this. A lot of these agencies are not necessarily, my forte. But anyway, DOE, NASA, NSF, and a big chunk is DoD. Of course, DoD incorporates a variety of agencies, so you'll see solicitations from Air Force, Navy, DLA, a whole bunch of them, DHS, a whole bunch of stuff. So, but anyway, so then you have others. Some are separated out here, I guess. So you have DHS, USDA, NOAA, NIST, a bunch of them. So they're all smaller percentages of the pie. But if it fits in your topic category, that's the ones to go with. We worked, personally, I've worked with NSF, I worked with DOE, DOD, DHS, and NOAA for our various technologies over time. So this is where your question came up earlier, sort of. Some of them do grants, some of them do contracts, okay? Some of the SBIRs are contracts and some are grants. So grant is a flexible thing. You can read through all of this, okay? Most importantly, you have more freedom in doing what you do in a grant versus a contract, okay? At the end of the day, you're flexible, you can talk to your program manager, and if he says this is the right way to go and whatever, you can move things around, it's doable. It's all about moving your technology forward to something that looks good. That's really what the grant is going to do, okay? Generally, they have an application in mind, so you want the scope of work to fit or go towards that application. That's all they're looking for. Contracts are different. Contracts that are much more rigid because they have a customer in mind who has specifications. And so they want you to hit specific things, targets. And so it's a binding agreement. The scope of work is fairly inflexible. I would scare you because it is not as inflexible as a contract sounds like, It is actually, you can talk to the program manager and make it move through quite a bit. And we do that quite often, actually. One thing I've noticed, which is a bad thing if you're executing an STTR, an SBIR, or any contract for that matter with the government, is keep them informed. They don't like gotchas, okay? So you might sit there and say, oh, this is not quite working the way it is, but a magic will happen, right towards the end of the contract, and therefore suddenly it'll all work. You can think that, that's positive thinking, that's wonderful, okay? But keep the program manager appraised of how your project is going, okay? Give them the risks, give them, I'm trying this could work, this may not work, I'm trying alternate plans, whatever it is. They love to be involved in that, knowing where it's going. Don't worry, they're not cutting your funding off. I've had a contract where I told the program manager about halfway through the contract, there is no way, I used some expletives, but I said, no way this is gonna work, okay? We've proven it, this is not working. So please cut us off because I cannot give you the delivery. The guy told me, no, it's fine. The funding has been allocated to you. It's okay, do the best you can. All right? So don't be afraid that they're gonna cut your funding off, but be honest with them. They like it better because they can plan for phase 2s or other things, and you will create a great contact point for yourself going in the future. For future SBIR, for future contacts. Otherwise, you'll burn bridges. They don't like to hear 1 month before the end of the contract, oh, it's not gonna work. That's not what they want to hear. They doubt it took you that long to figure out that it's not gonna work, okay? So they don't like that. There's just a side, this is not part of this, but when you do execute, keep that rapport going. That's how you get more and more contracts in the future, more and more customers in the future. Because at the end of the day, the SBIR guy who's funding you, he's gonna look good if your program ends up in the customer's hands, okay? He's gonna look really bad if you waste all the money without him being told. It's not gonna happen, okay? Because he has to go present it to his bosses who are gonna sit and rack and stack him and say, how are your projects doing? Success doesn't mean only that the technology worked, okay? Success means it was funded and you learned something. And as long as that learning process is there, they are okay. Make it work, exactly, okay? And so that's the point. You had a question?
Yeah, do you have the percentage of funded percentage of the money goes to grants?
It's by agency.
Okay.
It's by agency. It's not any particular that way.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's by agency and which vehicle they want to put money in for that. So they try to do more basic research type, 6-1 type money goes into grants. Application ones, much more application specific, end up more into contracts, typically. And so here's a rough SBIR STTR structure. There's a lot of variance, of course, depending on the agencies. But phase 1 is typically a feasibility study. Okay, many people end up with just a report at the end of phase 1. Okay, a model, a report, something, like that. A few people have a touch and feel type of something. We usually do, which is good to have, but if you can't, that's okay. It depends on the technology. And that number has changed. The amount of dollar number has changed over the years a lot. It has gone all the way from used to be 75K, 75 to 750, 75, and yeah, this would go to about $500,000. Now the highest number was pretty recent, right? A few months ago. Navy started going for their phase 1 SBIRs for 225K, which is a fair amount of money. And the program typically 6 to 12 months, right down the middle, about 9 months is what we schedule it for. Once you get phase 1 and then they approve you, they like your work, they like your phase 2 and move it on to phase 2, that's where you go to prototype development, full research, prototype development. And that goes up to $1.5 million over 2 years. And obviously the success rate is much, much higher because you've already been pre-selected in some ways. Unless you really mess it up, you should get the phase 2. If they want you and they like you, you should be able to get phase 2. Okay? And the $1.5 million, there's a new one I just learned. The $1.5 million doesn't have to be in a one-piece contract. Why that's important is, for example, if Navy comes in tomorrow and says, hey, I liked your phase 1, I want a phase 2, okay? You write the proposal for phase 2, they say, oh, I only have $500K to give you, okay? Fine, that's the money they have, right? So you budget it in for whatever it is for $500K and you run it through. You still have $1 million available to you through either Navy or one of the other agencies to add to that SBIR, so you don't have to start this competitive cycle starting here again. Quinnergy currently is in a state where we have 2 SBIRs. One finished phase 1 in 2003, and then for some reason it didn't get funded, don't ask why. They want to fund it now because they like the technology now. At the time, they didn't care as much. Now they care. So they're trying to make a phase 2 out of it, okay? And we have another one where we got a phase 2, but the phase 2 was only for $750K. Now they want to add another $750K from a different agency for the same technology. So all they require for that is another statement of work or something. And once we identify the correct program manager, that's good to go. What this is doing is it's creating many vehicles that are available for use. This is the difference between getting money from an investor versus getting money from a government. For government, there has to be a vehicle in place where they can put the money in that it can come to you, okay? If the vehicle is not there, it's going to take a long time to set that up to make it happen, okay? And SBIR is one of the cool, very easy, important vehicle to have. And so people have multiple SBIRs on a variety of technology. So if there is interest that comes up in the technology and there is a still available money to the ceiling of $1.5 million, say, or whatever it is, for that agency, then you can get money into it. Yes?
So if the application process is a 6-month process, I started this June 2017 for phase 1. I get awarded in December 2017. I have 6 to 12 months to
Execute. Right.
Let's just say that they go on the lower end, 6 month period of executing on the milestones. I applied for the phase 2 in June of 2018.
Right.
I have to wait for 6 months to get the phase 2 award.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Okay.
That part is dependent on when the cycle comes up first, okay? The phase 2 application cycle will come up, and when the phase 2 application cycle comes up, you'll go through. And phase 2s get reviewed quicker than phase 1s, what I remember. And typically, I've seen that gap be about 3 months. We went from a phase 1 to phase 2 within 3 months.
I've also seen
Much longer too. Because many times it is not, many times it's not because of your phase 2. Many times it's allocation of funds. So if, for example, let's say this year, right? You have 2017. Let's say you finish your contract in June, okay? In June, let us say they have not allocated 2018 funds yet. Remember, government cycle is September 30th, right? Starting, or October 1st. So if they have not allocated the funds, okay, for 2018 by then, you're good to go. There's money in the pot. If they have already allocated the funds for 2018 for whatever reason, okay, then you may have a hard time going forward. So you have to wait until there's available funds and they go through. See what I'm getting? There are very other reasons too. It's not necessarily just a cycle thing.
So the reason why I'm asking that is that the applicant needs to be aware that they need to have the phase 1 fund stream supplies them somewhere between 9 to 12 months.
Yeah.
Because if they run out of the money and they still submitted the final report at the end of 6 months, how are they going to fund the company for 3 months?
Correct. Yes. 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 That's where it's very important that you, this is a nice segue to the workshop. So there's a nice segue. You guys all, if you want to do this right or have not done it before, need to attend a potential workshop in the future on how do you do rate for your business. When you put together a proposal, you need to be able to put together a rate and say, huh? Not burn rate. This is about rate calculations for how much your hour is worth. And labor rates calculations, how do you do calculations and all these things. So what you're talking about a dead period is actually overhead. Okay, so your rate is not going to be based on some number. You know what I'm saying? That's why a lot of these things are important. So when you start doing rate calculations, you should attend that workshop.
Yeah,
And
nobody's saying that the applicant has to be prepared for a non-contiguous stream of money.
correct. Of course, yes.
Cases where you're just waiting for
Totally.
Well,
Totally.
if you're going to get in further in the presentation, there's bridges.
Yeah.
Bridge funding.
There is some bridge funding, there's stuff. Yeah.
So that's also.
So this is, yeah. So
one quick question on the user funds.
Mhm.
Are you going to get into the direct and indirect costs?
No. No, that's where that workshop is where you want to get into really for all those. That's where you want to do. How do you do your indirect cost calculations? How do you do your direct cost calculations? What all counts? What is a GNA? What is overhead? What is, where does business development go? Where does lobbying go? All these, some are not allowed. What is allowable? What is unallowable? All these are important. And if you set it up early, it's easier. Because after the fact, trying to set it up, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
And like DOD allows a lot of different things than a lot of the other agencies. So
Uh-huh.
we do internal research and development on
Yep.
the DOD project. We can't talk about that stuff.
Correct.
So every agency is different.
And so you have to have a certain allocations in there. They allow for bid and proposal. They'll pay you actually to write proposals. I'm serious. It's part of the rate. So anyway, this is, so then you get to phase 3. This is where you have to have a matching fund, So at that point, hopefully somebody else, another agent, when I say matching, it's not investor money. Any matching here can be project dollars, right? Some program dollars can come in. SBIR are not considered program dollars. That's SBIR program dollars. I mean, like, I don't know if you're doing lasers, it'd be HEL, JTO may fund it, or, the strike fighter may fund it, or whatever. Some program will fund it, and these guys will match. So in the meantime, so there is a couple of other things. If, let's say, you did phase 2 and your technology is not quite there yet, but a little more work and you can get it there, right? Then there are other available opportunities. All these are light variances of a phase 2 additional money. Okay, let's call it that. So you can get phase 2 additional money of another $1.5 million approximately, I think. Correct? I think so. The max of about $1.5 million. And it is.
It's non-competitive.
Yeah, it's non-competitive, correct. And you can do that. We've gotten that. That's nice to have, actually. And so that's the, and each one goes differently. So there's a whole bunch of different ones. These are all agency specific. So you can, when you get to that point, we can help you a lot more with it. But at this point, it's just agency specific. Each agency has its own enhancement program just to get you out to that point where the technology is ready to go. Okay, part 2, proposal process. Most of you guys probably know all of this, but we'll go through it. So typical application process is you get solicitations, you look at solicitations in FedBizOps or SBIR.gov or wherever, and then you go write your proposal, you submit your proposal, you get it evaluated, and then right? Key here for the slide takeaway is you can submit the same application to many agencies, but two agencies cannot fund the same thing. So let us say you submit this to NSF and you submit it to DOD or whatever, okay, 2-3 topics. And let's say NSF comes out first and funds you. You have to withdraw yourself from the other agencies because you cannot do the same work. The government will not fund twice for the same work. And so that's all that says. We've done that, and we had to recuse ourselves from some of the others. And the first thing you got to do to be able to qualify for any of these things, be able to, in the proposal process, is to get yourself registered. And a bunch of forms, fill out forms, they're online. We can help, right, Dana? I'm promising everything because Dana is the one who will help you, okay? So these 3 are standard for everybody. Then the rest of them are all agency dependent, okay? And so you have these 3 forms, you get it all done, finish, register yourself, and life is good. And then as you go through, as the submission, depending on which topic you pick from which, not which topic, which agency you pick, you go into, into any of those particular websites and forms. Yes?
All the agencies are immune to being an LLC versus a C corp versus an S corp, or they all need to be a corporation?
I don't think they do.
I don't know.
Yes.
Although the company is the same registration process, since you are doing something, and then doing something.
You have to be a company.
You have to be a company. Yes, you have to be a company. You can't be just you.
Yeah.
TIN or TIN or whatever number, So you have to have that. Yes, you have to be a company. You're a small business, right? Yes, correct. So
Back in the day, you didn't have to be a company. You could apply as an individual and form a company if they gave you the award.
I don't think you can do that. Cool. Thanks. This is good. We need more people like you. This helps. So, and these are more of the agencies. It's just we couldn't fill all the agencies in one slide, so it's just multiple agencies. And by the way, they can have this presentation, right? This presentation is available to you.
I'll send it out.
You should send it out. Okay, cool. Thanks, Dana. Get to know Dana. She's cool. Okay. So, so again, there's a variety of agency platforms. You saw these in the past. Fastlane for NSF. You use that, right, Ravi? And grants.gov. Anyone's that use grants don't go through grants.gov. Grants.gov doesn't necessarily only do SBIR, STTR grants. It does all kinds of grants. So just to let you know, these are all generic stuff. SBIR defensebusiness.org, and you can use that for DoD submissions. Fed Connect, the SBIR portal, program portal for DHS. Some of these are slight variances. Some of them will be saying, you require to have a tax identification number instead of an employer identification number. These are all little vacancies, and they're not big variations. You'll see agency to agency specific, but don't get caught up in this and that right now, because fundamentally all you need to do is make sure you have 3 registrations done, the top 3, until you find the agency and the topic of interest. Then you can get all the other ones done for that specific agency and move on. Okay, it won't be very hard.
And we'll send you
Yeah, we can help you with that too.
each registration.
Yeah.
And then serials, and they take a little bit of time. The standard registration can take 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So you need to do DUNS, then SAM.
Yes.
SBA.
What's
Yeah.
TIN, temporary identification?
No, that's tax ID number.
What's the difference to that? Yeah.
Employer identification number. I had to go search through those guys to find out what that was actually.
Not IRS.
It's an IRS thing.
Yeah.
But if you ask for a TIN, you get one too, I believe. That's what I was told. I use a EIN and it's gone through so far, but I don't work with DHS, so not for this one. So here is a rough proposal creation step. Like I said before, complete the general registrations. Those are the first three that you saw on the list, okay? You can do that now. Whenever you get a chance, get it done. If you haven't done it, do it. It's nice to have. It's worth doing just in case you have all kinds of questions. We're here to answer. Call us, no problem. Then you have to identify an agency and a topic. See what the topic, which agency your technology would fit into, where the interests are going to be, and so you identify the agency and the topic. Then I would suggest you complete the agency-specific registrations, which you saw already. There also we can help you. And then you develop a compliance matrix based on the solicitation. So you make sure you have a list of all the things you need to do to make sure you're compliant, right? That you filled out the registrations, that you are a small business, that you are all of those, you know. And once you get that, hopefully at that point, this is where you have to plan yourself, because this, keep an eye on FedBizOps and SBIR.gov, because when the solicitations come out, you will have a period of, I want to say about a month, the first month, where you're allowed to talk to the program manager, okay? And that's very, very, very valuable. You want to talk to the program manager, ask them all kinds of questions, especially if you have any concerns or questions about the compliance needs and restrictions that they may have in the solicitations. It's a good thing to ask. You can even run your idea by them, see if this makes sense to propose. I'll warn you though, nobody will tell you not to apply, okay? Nobody. I've never heard a single program manager ever tell me, oh, wish, don't apply for that. You have no chance in hell for doing this, okay? Nobody will tell you that, because one of the things they're being reviewed on is how many applications they get. And they want a lot of applications, okay? So they will never say no, but if you have a sense, you can figure out based on how enthusiastic their responses are and how they're talking to you, whether you should be applying to this topic or not, okay? So I'm just telling you, that gives you a good feel, because you don't waste your time applying to something that you think is good, but they are lukewarm about. So, you know, just keep an eye on that. And that's why this is very important. Then once you're done, you can complete your proposal package. We can help you with that. And it's part of the compliance matrix generation too. So that tells you what your form and things to be very careful about. Because it has to pass the mustard at the bean counter level, I like to call it, okay, before going to the technical evaluation. If it doesn't pass the bean counter, no technical guy is going to look at this. I'll give you an example. We had a proposal that the technical guy, we already talked to him, that he loved it, he wanted it, he was waiting for the proposal. It never got to his desk because our proposal went 2 lines over 22 pages and the limit was 22. Somebody didn't check it, it never went through. So we lost it. So we may think certain things are trivial, it should be nothing, it's fine, whatever, because that's not important. It is all important. Dot your I's, cross your T's. Margins are important. Double spacing is double spacing. 12 point, it's 12 point, okay? Don't try to cheat, don't try to cram more into it, nothing. You are competing on an equal, think of it this way, it's a competition. You're competing on an equal footing against other people who are given that same space to work with, okay? So that is where here becomes important. Make sure you do all of those things. Submit on time. I would suggest try to get it reviewed by other people locally. If you know people, run it by them, whatever. Give it about a week or so to go before submission. And submit on time means usually 90+% of the time it's Eastern. I know a lot of people who submitted things after 3 o'clock here and got screwed. And last minute is fine, but last minute Eastern, please. You know, safe bet. And then you can wait for the notification. Hopefully it's good news. If it's good news, great. If it's not good news, that's okay too, because you can ask for a review. So you can have a review, you can email them, they'll tell you why yours didn't pass, what it was, and all these things, okay?
So I can attest to 2 of the things. One, I saw 2 lines, I was half page over, so I got very good feedback. Number 2 is completing the agency-specific registrations. Do not wait till the last week. I tried to do, the last one I submitted was an NSF STTR, and I did the day before registration. It was like down day 1.
Yeah.
2:55 p.m. I submitted that. So, still waiting for the result. The message there is registrations take time too. So.
And registration, you don't have to wait for your proposal for it. Might as well get it done. You know,
It's not hard.
it's not hard,
It's just.
but it can be long because of everybody and their brother is trying to do the same. What are the smart ones, okay? For doing it last minute. Everybody's trying to do last minute. So a server could go down. There could be all kinds of problems, okay? And so you don't want to get into that situation at the end. It is not worth the aggravation, really. So if you know you're going to submit to a topic, get it done, you know? So, okay, now we talk about our cool stuff, and I'm fast. Yes?
The registration requires all those registration metrics.
No.
The top 3 has to be done.
The top 3 have to be done first. Just do it. Just do it. That is general for everything, okay?
The top 3 are SAM,
Duns.
and then
Duns is overnight, SAM can take a few weeks, and then SBA is overnight.
Yeah.
But you need to do one before the other.
Right. So get it done. That's early. You don't even have to wait for a topic. Just get it done. You know, you can start today. You know, the agency specific one is different, but that you can get done once you pick which topic you want and which agency. But do it before you start writing the proposal and finish well. FAST. What is FAST? I had to learn this too, actually. It's Federal and State Technology Partnership Program. Okay. Why it's called FAST outside of that, I don't know. I guess it's fast. Try to get you money fast. I guess not. Probably one of those things. It's funded by the Small Business Administration, and its goal is to strengthen the technological competitiveness of small businesses. A bunch of states competed. 21 winners, so 21 states, I guess. 16 state FAST programs, 5 are small business technology centers. They're located all over the place. We are here at NMSU in Las Cruces, and you know, I'm surprised that some of the states don't have it, if you think about it.
California, Texas.
California and New York. Some of the highest populated states don't have it. So
That's also where most of the SBIRs work. So.
they go, they already know.
The program is focused on state underrepresented and
Right.
low. They want to stay low SBIR. So
So,
that's why we're.
so they want to bring
Although
up
we
the
actually
SBIR.
have a pretty high number of SBIRs submitted, but
Yeah.
primarily.
But we're hopefully getting this all over. Fast side is only helping you write the proposal, learn, talk to the agencies, that kind of stuff, right? They're helping you promote your technology. Dana can go look at agencies. If you have an exit, there is no competition, but they can't. And this is not like knowing the inside track or anything, okay? Fundamentally, look, it's the government, so therefore they can't just give you extra for whatever. So, so we are located in an Arrowhead Center at NMSU, and we have provide assistance for SBIR, STTR proposal writing, promoting, all of those things. Speaking of which, a very important event is happening December 13th. Yes, 13th. We have, oh yeah, but just throwing it out there. This is a very unique event because every agency in the Navy, within the Navy, SBIR coming, and you can have opportunities to talk one-on-one to the various program managers that may be in your field of interest. Then you have a chance to see, hey, how can I get this moving? Does it matter what I'm doing? Is it important to you guys? Which guys would be more interested in this? And you can start working that pretty quickly.
All the SBIR events focus around a particular date in the future, or is this something you could approach an agency with the dates of the year?
You can approach the agency at any time of year, but the solicitations only come certain times of the year. Only then can you. Oh, this card. There you go. Yeah. here's a card. Actually, that's a good point. So you ask the question, pass this around. Make sure you guys have it. All of the agencies with the deadlines are on there as to when the calls come out. And so that's only when you can apply for it. But there's nothing wrong when talking to these guys so they know it's coming and you can develop your rapport with them. And it's always good to know people. Right? And so,
Well, with Department of Defense, sometimes you can find somebody who will be interested in what you're doing, and they'll write a topic forward.
of course,
And then your life gets much better.
that is really the right way to go in some ways, okay? But that takes a longer time. That's a longer time. And so I look at this as an opportunity to develop that. For example, even if you have that out there, right? And you talk to a program manager, let's say this time you don't get funded or whatever it's, or the topic didn't quite fit what you need, okay? And so you've created a rapport with the program manager who knows the customer. So now you start talking to the potential customers, to potential program managers. So the next round, you have a better shot, or maybe he just says, hey, the customer likes it, why don't you put a topic in place for us? Technically, you should not write the topic, but
Sure happens.
it happens. It happens. I've had cases where I've written topics where they massage it and make it look slightly different. And so that comes out, and some just came out verbatim. So it just depends on the person.
It's almost like writing your own grant.
And you still have to win it. You still have to write a proposal. That's what I was telling earlier. It'll be kind of sucky if you wrote a topic and then you didn't get it, you know? So, and somebody else gets it, that's pretty rough. Yeah, that was the sucky one because we were 2 lines over on our topic. That sucked because the guy knew it was coming. And so he didn't pass the bean counter. So these are very important things to do. So all that work sort of went for naught. But anyway.
I worked with a guy who applied at NIH 2 years in a row. Well, he applied 2 years in a row and he was 15 minutes late both times. And then the third time, he got it in on time and he got funded. So he wasted 3 years.
3 years,
and
right.
got a bunch of money. So I mean, it's really kind of important to pay attention to these things.
Yeah, the little things, the sweat the details, it's okay, it's worth it, trust me. It's a heck of a lot better than doing a song and dance to an investor, I'll tell you that, okay?
These proposals, you put in a lot of work into it. 14% of them are going to get funded. It's really competitive.
Mhm.
If you're going to bother to do it, put the effort in to do it.
Yeah.
Don't wait till the last minute. Get it done.
So these are us. Zeddy, who's in Las Cruces, who's our director. Dana is here. Del is not here. Would he be on the phone? He's mute but listening. So God's listening. So, and we're being live streamed, I guess, right? Voice streamed at least. And that's me, Wish. Okay, what do? We provide a monthly email newsletter. Our SBIR STTR resources are available on our website. We do a video podcast series, about 1 SBIRs in the past, their experiences, so on and so forth, and with agency reps maybe and stuff as to what they're looking for. This is one of the workshops we do throughout the state. We do SBIR STTR proposal development assistance, and we do it with each client. We do intake interviews. We talk about your technologies, see where it might fit, and then we try to promote it to some of the agencies, see if they care, and that's how we do that. And then there is a small micro grant available for newcomers with proposal development. These micro grants can be used for, is that next slide? This is my first time doing this presentation. Nope, not quite. He'll come later, okay, as to what that micro grant is used for. But this is our impact right now. As you can see, most of it is here, here. A little bit in other places, but we're trying to expand more and more. It's pretty. So we have workshops all over the place. We have clients all over the clients, small businesses who are writing SBIR, and we have partners. And how does it work? So working with NMFast is this way. So first you do an intake interview and you figure out what needs to be done. Then you guys go to the registration, the 3 main registrations, okay, like the general one I said. And then 1 to 2 page executive summary of what you do. Then I just give it to Dana. Dana goes, talks to various agency reps and stuff, and see if that executive summary can be circulated and determine which agency might care. Okay, so we help do some of that. Then if you find a topic based on the agency, then you can get an agency-specific registration done, finish your proposal writing, complete your bio sketch, you identify that first principal investigator. You can also decide at that point whether you need a microgrant for helping you write the proposal, and I'll tell you still what the microgrant is used for later. And so then once you access the microgrant, we can set you up with a provider of the service for what you need for writing the proposal. And then you can keep checking in with us. We can review your proposal if you want. And hopefully you can submit it well in time and win the award. So that's how we help. Did I miss anything?
No, for the review, we do have experts from almost every agency who were reviewers for SBIRs for that agency that we have funding now. Stipulation is you have to get it to us at least prior to the due date, so we can get it to them. They can review it, get it back to you. You can incorporate all that feedback and then submit on time. So.
Which is a very big thing. Knowing what the reviewer is looking for is extremely important, because that's never clearly specific in the solicitation. It'll say, in general, we're going to look at this and this and this, but that's it. Yes? Uh-huh.
Obviously, there's the word in this.
Correct.
And I had a question earlier, and I was told maybe the team has a 100% prior to the submission. But then when I'm looking at the executive summary, pre-submission, they ask for team information.
Yes.
So I was wondering how detailed this information is to be. How important is it in the position?
It is somewhat important, I would say. Mainly the PI. The PI is extremely important. They have to know that you are able to perform to what you're promising to do. Okay. So when they say team, it's not necessarily just the small company. Team involves any subcontractor you might use, any research institution you might use, all of those, right?
Board of directors.
Sometimes you can, yeah.
Look like a bigger team.
Yeah.
And if you only have one name, and that's the PI, you need to address things like, well, if you need a programmer, you say,
Right.
we need a programmer with these skills. They don't have to have a name, they don't have to be a person. You just have to let them know that you understand how to build a team that can do this project. So
Right.
I mean, you can do that pretty easily writing lines and make it look like it's a professional organization.
But it says, yeah, number of employees, why? And,
So typical SBIRs go to companies with 1 to 3 employees, like 80%.
Yeah.
And they understand that not necessarily be able to hire them all prior to
The money. Right.
So that's why that can be when it comes in. And to optimize, because it's a competitive process, but
Right.
to optimize for the chance of receiving the award, would it be helpful to list names of people, if they are leaders in the industry, on the list of the candidates who are looking at and the position on the board once we receive it? Would that help? Like, to what extent would that information help?
I don't know if that we have to figure out from the reviewers. But the reason I say I'm a little hesitant with that is because at the end of the day, you have to use their resumes. Okay? Only then will it help, right? If you use their resumes or, otherwise it's a name. And that is why you can say you're looking for people and have identified some, here's a resume or something, I suppose. But I have never done it that way. I've always had our stuff as to who was there and said, like you said, potentially need so-and-so, and leave it at that. And, I've used my board members before as some resumes if they have the value there. Especially ones that are commercialization. For commercialization value, that's important. To show that there's experience of somebody who's done a company or done, commercial, product development.
So I think the whole thing is you're trying to establish credibility and show that you're the right people to do this. You have the right technology, all of that stuff. So Ben Schrag at NSF always says, why this, why now, why that? Those are the three things that he looks for. And so I think anything that you can do to answer those questions, to say we're the right team, you do, but you aren't going to lie about it.
No.
You have to be upfront and honest, and they're used to one or two people putting, that doesn't bother them at all.
And in many cases, I've used potential subcontractors as part of the team, because you're not going to bring everything in-house, depending on what you're doing, And so if you're working with a mechanical shop, if you're working with, their credibility matters. So you can put them in as a team and say, see, we can do this here, this here, this here. So you're dissecting what needs to get done and who can do it and why.
You have to check with them, make sure that.
Of course, that is where it takes time. The part of writing the proposal is easy. I've written the whole proposal in 2 days. Okay, that's nothing. The part is putting all the pieces together. Getting the costs. Getting the yeah, we can do this with you. Whether you need recommendation letters, whether you need participation letters. What are all those things take more time because it's pretty expensive time and you need to get okay. So that's why you need a framework in your head as to how that project is going to go, and all the pieces that fit in go into it. Okay. Yes.
So, what about the time from the PI and co-PI? They can the PI work for a full-time job and do this?
There is a minimum. I'm trying to remember what it is. He must be a full-time employee, and a full-time employee is considered at least, depends on the agency. Depends on at least 50% is what I remember.
You have to be 51%.
Yes, it should be 51% employed by the small business.
And that precludes you from having a full-time job or a job that's more than 19 hours a week. We used to be able to fake all that and just say, oh yeah, but
I work weekends and all this nonsense. You can't do that anymore. Yeah.
Not anymore. So this, what is granted you can do the job?
You can do a part-time job.
Yeah.
Yeah. The PI can still be.
I mean, the co-PI usually the university faculty is an employee, is a professor.
Yeah, the
PI is only restrictions only for the PI, and nobody else.
And if you're working with NSF, they don't even want that anymore. They don't want you full-time with the small business.
And the PI can be, the caveat there is the PI can be, doesn't have to be the CEO of the company.
Oh, no.
No, not at all.
He could be someone else who's dedicated full-time.
Absolutely.
Correct, of course. Yeah.
And the PI can be, so if I applied in June as a PI, I could update when grant time.
Yeah. So some agencies are worse than others on that. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Some of them are real picky. NSF really wants you to be the PI, or the expert at it. They want you running it. DOD is a little more lax and they'll let you change. But the thing to do is be upfront and honest with them every time you know there's going to be change. Send them an email, get an email back so you've got a record of what happened. Because if they say it's fine with me, then you're covered. You never have to worry about anything. So do an online email, keep them, and just keep everybody updated. And I've had, NSF says you aren't allowed to change the PI on the project. And I've gone to NSF and said, hey, this guy quit the company. We've got something who's better. He wants to be the PI. And they say, oh, fine.
Yeah.
Send him an email. And they're almost always great to work with. All they're trying to do is make you be successful in business. You should never be scared to let them go.
Yeah, and don't hold back. The gotchas are what they don't like. So give them time. They'll work with you. It should be fine. So, but there is a requirement. The PI has to be at least 51%. So what do we do? Again, so you can, once you figure out, at this point, you already know you're going to have a topic, you're going to go write a proposal, whatever. that point, you can decide whether you need access for a micro grant, because maybe you want help with commercialization strategy, maybe you want market survey help, whatever. So that's that. Then you develop a compliance matrix based on the solicitation itself. And we can provide you this is us being fast. All the blue is what you do. Am I correct? Yes, okay. So, and so then you can have a proposal template. We can provide you a proposal template, it's not sequential. There's a bunch of training modules in the SBIR.gov website you can go to and read up on what is required, how things are done, and we can match you with a service provider if you need a micro grant. You write the narrative, we can review it, help and look at it, and you can revise it and submit it. So we'll walk you through the whole process, what this essentially says. So if it is not specifically listed here and you need help, doesn't mean we won't help. So ask. Finally, what can the micro grants be used for? All of these. Nothing else, right? There could be other things, but right now, all of these.
It can basically be used for anything. So it was really hard for us to write a list because it really is dependent on what you need. So you see something that you need that's not on.
This is what we've seen in the past.
Yes.
Really. So that's what this is based on, right?
So you have to be enrolled in the program?
Yes.
You haven't gotten to that point yet.
Yeah, you're not writing a proposal. What's the topic? We can do this. You can't just say, give me $650. That's not how this works. Okay. So, again, this whole thing will be on the website, so you can always read this. And if you have any questions, contact me or Dana. It's no problem. Okay. And so, what is a micro grant? So essentially, there's a negotiated contract rate and rate between a service provider. So somebody who provides one of these services, okay, and Arrowhead Center. So if you say, hey, I need help with this thing, then Arrowhead Center will pay the service provider to work directly with you, okay, for SBIR STTR assistance. The network of these providers is quite extensive and is keeping on adding to it as we go along. And the eligibility of whether what you're asking for is legit, let's call it that, and we can fund it is determined by our interview. Okay, so we are the deciders. We can say no to that grant, right? Or we can say yes. Mostly we say yes. So we're nice. In summary, we interview all of you guys when you're ready or interested, whenever, and we assist you in identifying the topic based on your executive summary, based on your technology, and what you can tell us, and we provide how-to about all the registrations and the proposal submission. We'll guide you through the whole process. We'll even review the proposal drafts with feedback from experts who've reviewed proposals before, and we can offer you micro grants for new awardees up to 2 times.
2 micro grants.
Is that 2 micro grants per proposal, or it's 2 micro? Oh, okay.
2 micro grants per proposal, and the eligibility requirements is you haven't won SBIR for the last 2 years.
Okay.
Is it just for SBIR?
Or
Or STTR.
What about project expenses?
No.
But we have funded kind of middle, so we have one client who she did her phase 1, she's going to phase 2, she's trying to set up her DCA compliance. So we funded that. So she's not actively running for a proposal, but so anything SBIR, STTR related.
But the DCA compliance can fit into technically a BAA too, at the end of the day. So, our available resources is you, Dana. I'm going to let her talk about this.
So the one we wanted to talk about is Arrowhead's semi-new, what we call SPRINT program. So we received funding through the New Mexico Gas Company to create what we're calling these SPRINT programs. So far we've had 3 SPRINT cohorts, and we're on our 4th one right now. Basically, so these different sprints. So we had tech sprint. So for tech sprint, people who went through that, or small businesses who went through that, had businesses or technologies with kind of general science area. Our egg sprint was obviously very egg focused, so you had to have an egg-based technology. This sprint, again, it was very broad. A lot of small businesses from a whole spectrum of different things went through that. And then right now what we have open, so applications are open if you have a health tech that you want to receive some funding for. It's going to be focused on digital health, although it's going to be a little broader than that. So we say digital health, but I think we can probably make most things fit
What
with
is digital?
that. So things like a lot of app creation for health, platforms, different things that like doctors are using. It's very, very broad. So if you have a question.
Digital transformation in healthcare,
Yeah.
all those topics. Operational improvement in healthcare.
It's very broad. If you have a specific question, I can get you in touch with the program manager. But basically, the way these programs work is you get a $2,000 stipend if you get accepted into the program, and that comes after you complete your 30 customer interviews. So these programs are programming, which really forces you to look at your customer discovery and make sure that there is a fit out there for your product. What's really nice about the sprint programs is after you go through it, you have lineage or you have the eligibility to compete for the National I-Corps program, which is then a $50,000 pot if you get accepted. So Dee, I know you're going through that right now. Justin, you
I
went
should
through.
be going through that. I
Yeah.
totally forgot.
That's okay, no, but the,
It's a rolling basis.
It's rolling.
They have cohorts,
Yes.
around.
so it comes up all the time. But what's nice is, so like even though you participated, say several months ago, you'll always have that lineage. So if you want to apply for National I-Corps in a year, you can do that. So if you have questions about the sprint programs, let me know. We're doing these on a rolling basis, right? So right now we're doing health sprint. We're hoping that we will be able to do like tech sprint and biz sprint again. So we'll open it back up to more general technologies, things like that. So just keeping a lookout for that. And that is an Arrowhead specific program. NMSBA is another statewide program. It's not Arrowhead specific or FAST specific. Basically, it's the New Mexico Small Business Assistance Program. What this program does is it lets you work with national labs, so Sandia and Lano. Skip, I know you have an NMSBA, right? Yep. So it's no cost to small business, and what you do is you work with the lab to use essentially their resources, so their scientists, to move your product along, so they can do testing, feasibility testing, things like that. It kind of varies based on the project, and it's usually about $20,000 in labor costs. So if you have questions on that,
They don't send you $20,000.
No.
No. Their lab employees,
Yep.
$20,000 to research your project, see if it works right, the pieces fit together correctly.
Right. It's actually it's 10,000 if you are in Bernalillo County.
yeah,
It's outside of Bernalillo,
outside
it's
of Bernalillo.
20,000. And the 10,000 by company, you can go whenever you want. It's not a problem. If they have the money available for their own guys, of course, it's not for you. They'll do it at any time of the year. But I think right now, it's already done.
Yeah,
they
makes
have
sense.
they have the one where you can combine up to 100,000, 80 or 100,000.
Okay.
So you get a bunch of things.
It's always accepted for startups.
That's the startups for the individual. But if you have a group, they have twice a year that you have to go in and present and compete and whatever. And then because all of the companies should have the same need, want to leverage. That's leverage. So that goes up to 100.
Regarding the tech support, I was wondering regarding the tech support.
I don't think yours would, because They're testing. So I think the qualifications for NMSBA, and correct me if I'm wrong because it's not my area of expertise, is you can't, it has to be something you can't go somewhere else in the state to have this done
It needs to be available.
on the commercial market. So I imagine yours would be things like more human-centric, right? And not so much testing technology. We can talk about it. And I can set you up with our NMSBA coordinator, and she can see if that'd be a fit.
And just to really understand the group, which pitches twice every year versus doing it twice a year.
Normally, it's just a small just by itself. Leverage is if you are a consortium, university, and company.
And the leverage one, like a good example of the leverage is a lot of, I heard of a project where it was multiple like beef producers. So they all have a vested interest in producing something. So they're all going to go in together rather than it just being one small business. So if that makes sense. And then just some other programs, state programs that may be of interest. The main one being the middle. So this year, Julia Wise was able to get a matching grant for SBIR, and it is in a kind of a trial period. So it was open, I believe, all of September. So it was a month long where you can apply, and then they should be selecting, or they may have already selected the awardees for that program. And basically, it was the first matching grant, SBIR matching grant New Mexico has really ever had, which is great. And it provided up to $50K for phase 1 and then up to $100K for phase 2. So we're hoping, I'm going to talk with Julia, and hopefully we can get that to be a continual thing and not just this one-time thing, because that's really great. Other programs, JTIP and the tax credits, those are run through the NMEDD. You can go to the website for more information. As you grow your business, these things might be of interest. I won't get too much into this though. For upcoming events, really quick, we don't have a slide on it, but like Wish said, we are developing a workshop that's focused on creating your budget and compliance and auditing and things like that. So if you have anything specific you want to have covered in that, let me know, and I can make sure that's worked in. It'll most likely be in Albuquerque, probably in the spring. So we're thinking probably March, April timeframe. So
Yeah, that's not us. This is the.
this is different.
This is the flyers.
We have flyers for this. So this is our Navy SBIR STTR Innovation Summit. It's December 13th at the Convention Center in Albuquerque. We were selected, or New Mexico was selected from essentially the entire West Coast to host this event. And what it is every year they have 3 releases, I believe, for DoD, right? But their big release is it gets released in November. And so NAVC and NAVAIR specifically, that's when all of their topics come out. And so they're sending a bunch of their program managers to Albuquerque to present on their topics, to talk to everybody about why they picked those topics, what they want to see as far as proposals, things like that. So it's a great opportunity to get one-on-one time with them. We're going to be facilitating private one-on-one sessions, so 20-minute sessions where you can sign up and go and talk to program managers. Our keynote is going to be Bob Smith, who is the director of the Navy SBIR STTR programs. He will also be available for private one-on-one sessions. So that's a great opportunity to get FaceTime with the director. So he's in charge of everything, right? We're also going to have panels on SBIR topics. That'll be great. And it should be a really good program. So it's free for FAST clients. If you're not a FAST client, it's $35. I think just about everybody here is a FAST client. So I would encourage you to attend. And I think that's it. So if you have any SBIR specific questions, Wish can answer that. Anything about the FAST program, I'm more than willing to answer.